Okay, so yeah, so we were just talking before you guys came on about welcome everyone tonight. By the way, it's trade deadline eve. You know, we set up our trade deadline tree upstairs, and the luminaries are outside. You're going to sing carols, trade deadline carols. They're fun, and you know, we string the tree with little old cards of trade deadlines past. You know, ready for work and things like that. Yeah, so it's all fun. You know, we remember like guys like Greg Kozlowski being traded and stuff like that. So we've got
Richard Zednick.
Yeah, you know, I've got all my cards around here. So, and I've got my 20-year-old gum. When I opened up that pack, my 20-year-old chewing gum, which is now it's now actually I've been slowly breaking it into small pieces.
Did you ever try eating it? It's disgusting. It tastes like wet cardboard. It disintegrates.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather eat wet cardboard.
I ate like a 30-year-old. From Gretzky's rookie year, I bought a pack once, and my friend dared me to eat the gum, and I did. And this was like in 2000. So I was a solid 30 years old.
Heck, retweet. I just tweeted out the buzzcast or the webcast on my Twitter. Just retweet it. So
I will retweet it now. So we're joined today. We're going to introduce you to Russ in a second. We have everybody tonight. This is like a preview of tomorrow's show, which is going to start at 11 a.m. And we're going to talk about nothing because all the players have already been traded. So we're going to talk about.
There's going to be lots of trades.
I have a good game for tomorrow in case we get slow. Okay, I've been playing this game.
And if we run out of things to say, we can talk about the Oscars.
Oh my goodness.
No, we can't.
Yeah, because I know if Sylvester Stallone wins the Oscar for whatever the hell the name of the Rocky
Creed. Come on, now.
I think the first thing he's gonna say in his acceptance speech is, "Yo, Adrian, I did it."
No.
Ross, don't laugh at his jokes. Don't.
Poor Rocky. Poor Rocky.
I'll learn not to laugh.
It's nice to have someone laugh in here. It's just nice. It's nice.
Somebody laughs at my jokes. Thank you, Ross.
Because you sure as hell know Josh isn't gonna laugh at anything. Josh Rimmer, folks. We're talking Hockey Buzz vintage now. The original Hockey Buzz, one of the original Hockey Buzz casters. We haven't seen you in a long time. You've definitely decorated your apartment better. We were there, I think, the first day you moved in, and there was.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm still blinded by the shine off of his cranium.
Oh no.
Well, I gotta find my blonde wig. I don't know what happened to that.
What happened to your blonde wig?
Eric stole it.
Yeah, I think you sold it to Julie.
Our former co-host stole it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got everybody here tonight. So tomorrow we'll have fun. But I've been playing this game. Before we start, I'll tell you real quick about it. It's hilarious. You guys are Steve Colbert people, right? So
Big time.
It's called Trivial Pursuit.
No. Stephen Colbert has this thing he's been doing called Friday Night Fights. You know Friday Night Fights?
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Is that the funniest thing he's ever done, or what?
Oh, it's great. That and First Giraffes are great, too.
Oh, yeah, I know. But what was it? Mr. Peanut versus Tony the Tiger the other day?
Yes, that's right.
Holy cow. That was awesome. You have to Google Friday Night Fights, Mr. Peanut versus Tony the Tiger to really appreciate it. He just went into, the basic concept is taking two random things and pitting them against each other in a battle. And fighting out. So I've got this game called Smart Fight. I don't know if you ever heard of it before. It's the same exact concept. And you get random characters, and then each of them you give them each two bizarre traits, and then you argue about who would win in a fight. My kids just think this is the greatest thing. They want to play this all the time, and I'm telling you, we'll do it on the Hockey Buzzcast if it gets slow tomorrow.
I got a great one for tomorrow. I'm not no spoilers.
Okay, yeah, hold off on it. It's just really, really fun.
I have a barroom conversation about who would win in a fight all the time, and it usually ends up for a good discussion.
Right. No, it is. It's a great discussion, isn't it? I mean,
so when Dylan Reese is getting traded at 2:00 tomorrow, we got nothing else to talk about.
I know. we earlier had a chance to do these. We had the Pope versus a mummy. We had that earlier tonight. There's just great things. You just put completely but the Pope had flaming arms for hands, and the mummy was could reproduce himself, and it was just amazing. This whole thing is just an incredible fun game to play. So anyway, get it for your kids. If my kids are silly, super creative, so that they just think it's the greatest thing ever. I guess before we start, let's should we talk about Upper Deck real quick, Russ? Because this is really pretty cool.
Yeah, everybody should check out www.upperdeckepack.com. You could get a free pack of digital trading cards. You could buy Series 1 hockey for $3.99.
Or maybe you bought 6 or 7 boxes already.
You already bought boxes. Yeah, you can get inserts. You can get real cards out of it, and you could actually get autographed cards out of it. It's really cool. Definitely go check it out, and we thank Upper Deck for sponsoring.
Yeah,
I got 3 McDavid so far, by the way.
There you go.
I got 5.
I was gonna bring my Michael Jordan Upper Deck. I think it was 91 baseball card, but
I have that.
it's in a hermetically sealed safe at my mother's house, so I just left
It's
it.
worth $10. You can break it out.
There you go.
It's real easy. You can do it from your phone. There he is. You go right to your collection. Real easy. Extremely obsessive as well.
So what's the exact address again?
UpperDeckEPAC.com.
So upper deck EPAC, like EPAC.
Yeah, EPACK.
I think if you look on the blog too, you will have a link.
Yeah,
there.
we have an advertisement on the blog. Yeah,
Perfect.
that'll be posted after the show.
All right, so I am trying to find the link that you just put up, Mike, and I can't find it. So I'm like, I don't know why.
You can also hit me up too because I'm on it like 12 times a day. So
I'll retweet it with your name in it.
Yeah, put my name in there. That'd be great. It's not that I don't bother.
And they also have, I have one of those too. They also have special cards in there that you can only get in EPACs, which is really cool.
Wow.
And if you put the set together, you get special McDavids too.
What is an EPAC exactly? Is there something that we?
It's an electronic version of a pack of cards.
Okay.
So you click on it, it's got a
everything.
sound effect, it opens up, and then you start seeing the cards you get.
You know how e-cigarettes are sort of electronic cigarettes, e-packs?
All right. Has
not really
anybody
like
ever
that.
tried a vape thing? Has anyone ever done this?
I've seen people do it. Yeah.
Now, Raz, you are probably the hippest person in here.
That's up for debate, I guess.
No, but have you ever done the vape thing?
No, I see it, and it still throws me off. I don't know. It just still looks weird, and I mean,
It does look weird. I
it
mean,
helps.
yeah. Is it safe? Is it?
They're going to tell you it's safe, and then in 10 years they'll tell you it's not.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I just still think they're weird, but
They
you know,
are
if it
weird.
helps quit and it's apparently safer, then by all means.
It brings all the hipsters to the mall. That's all I know. Like our,
Yeah.
like our mall now never was cool. Now there's a vape place in the middle of it. You know,
Everyone just gathers. It's just another thing, I guess.
it is.
I think people want us to start talking about hockey.
You think so? All right.
I have this weird feeling.
Sorry. All right. So we'll do the introductions like this. It'll be Mike, and then
Dan.
Mike, then Dan, then Russ, and I'll introduce Josh and Roz as
There
guests.
you go.
So just Mike, Dan, and Russ, and then we'll and then me. Okay, ready to go. It is the 28th. I know that for sure. 30 days have September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31 except for February alone, which has 28 days, but not this year.
I'm going to take a leap
That's right.
off of my porch.
Leap day, trade deadline day. Simone Gagne.
What's going on today?
Sorry, I can't talk at night.
Let's start the show.
Simone Gagne was born on the 29th of February. Yeah, whatever. There you go. So he's like 6, right, or something like that. Anyway, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's trade deadline eve, February 28th, 2016.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Dan Petru.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzCast special trade deadline eve pregame show thing. And we are joined by 2 guests tonight in our little fun little hangout. First off, since we do ladies first here, Josh, we got Roz Staple, who is a friend of mine. Roz works for SmartRink.com, which is by far the coolest synthetic ice in the world. I have some of them, and I'm buying more, and I'm putting a whole rink in my backyard in April. So I've been talking to Roz a lot. But the cool thing about Roz is that she knows way more than just the ins and outs of synthetic ice. She can talk hockey like nobody's business, and also is in Chicago. Was at the game today, and Chicago has had some interesting things going on, Roz.
Oh yeah, lots going on.
Well, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about that in a little bit for sure. And then we, of course, have Josh Rimmer, for those of you who have been watching us since the very beginning. When we started this podcast about just a little over a year and a half ago now. Josh was one of our originals, and it's good to have you back. Josh, how are you doing?
Doing well. Glad to be back. Exciting day ahead.
Josh, I don't think you have enough baseballs in the background.
Yeah, what do you got going on back there?
I know, I got quite a few.
Yeah, a lot of your studio's changed a lot, but you still have the Bobby Orr picture back there, which is cool.
I do.
And you've got
And
the
if you look at the
Nathan
baseball collection, I got a Ted Williams ball recently, so.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Good to see Ted still signing.
Not a lot.
Is it frozen?
Is it a frozen ball?
I knew that was coming.
And then in the back we got Nathan McKinnon too, right?
Yeah, I got a Nathan McKinnon one, and actually I got You guys are like this. I got to get it framed, though. I just got a McDavid signed Oiler.
Nice.
Wow, very nice.
Just got that, so I got to have that framed. Probably spent about $300, but anyway.
Very nice, very nice, very nice.
Costs more than the jersey.
So Josh is in Canada, Roz is in Chicago, but Roz is from Nathan McKinnon's homeland of Cole Harbor, also known where I think another player came from there too.
Yeah, I can't really recall, but I think his name's Sydney.
Yeah, name's Sydney. Yeah, so and Roz just schooled him when she was 6 when he played in the league with her. So
Yeah, I said I played against him. I didn't say I schooled him.
I think you're being too kind. Sydney, he's a crybaby. He's a diver. Come on. No, anyway.
Finally, you're coming around, Dak. Jeez.
What was that? No, we love
You're
Sydney.
finally coming around.
I know. Before we get into Chicago, I know Russ is dying to talk about his excitement, and he's a Rangers. He's our Ranger writer. I know you've got to be fired up about the Rangers once again just deciding to trade away all their future for a temporary fix in Eric Staal. So, Russ, what are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are, they basically could have gotten like a better TV from Rent-A-Center. No, I mean, honestly, here's the thing. I mean, you're getting somebody that's 31 years old, and Jeff Gordon comes out today and says, well, it may not be just a rental. Maybe we're going to try and re-sign him. And so then I get flashbacks of Vinny LeCavier, because that's exactly what happened with Vinny LeCavier.
Right.
He signs like a 5-6 year deal, and then 3 years into that, you can't figure out what to do with Vinny LeCavier. And so they gave up too much. I mean, Samela is a good prospect. He's not a great prospect. He's like a grade C prospect, maybe a B+. He's fast. He's got good hands. He looks like Laurie Korpikoski, but he's a little faster, a little better shooter. Still, he's a little bit further ahead than some of the other Ranger prospects, other than a Buchnevich, which I don't think, by the way, Carolina would take him because they've had such bad luck with Russians. I think that's probably why he wasn't in that deal. And so they took somebody that they probably felt like they can get in the lineup next year, and so Ron Francis could show that and the seconds. And I'll tell you, the seconds hurt because MSG put up a list earlier, and between the first and seconds that they've given up in the last 3 years now, it's awful in the sense that, yes, they made it to the Stanley Cup. I never felt like they were a serious threat to beat LA, though. I know some others will argue because there were games in overtime. I don't think it was that hard a series for them. And so at the end of the day, are they better than Washington? No. Are they better than Tampa? Nah, they're probably the same as Tampa. Are they better than the Islanders? A little. If the Islanders do something, maybe they get back in it. And maybe they're on the same level as Florida. So, I mean, this is not a great deal. He's not even the best face-off guy on the team. He'll be their second best. And he does get some takeaways. His scoring's not there. Everybody's waiting for this magical thing to happen, and sometimes it does, but a lot of times it doesn't. And in New York, New York's a strange place. It's hard for some guys to perform there.
But what this is this is the Rangers going all in. I mean, like we were talking about on Thursday or Friday. I mean, they weren't going to trade Yandel, and they confirmed that this weekend. So now they're not trading Yandel to recoup some of the futures that they gave up to get him. They're probably going to not be able to afford to sign him in the offseason, so they're going to let him walk for essentially a compensatory pick that they'll trade his rights before July 1st. And they're not going to re-sign Staal because they don't have the money to. So this is the Rangers basically. We've got Lundqvist. We'll probably have Nash back before the playoffs. We'll have McDonough back. The gang's all here. The band's back together. Let's take one last shot because after this, they're probably breaking up the band. So, I mean, and I agree with Russ. I don't think they're as good as Washington, but they have this thing with Washington where, Washington's got them in their head. Yeah. And if they have a good enough team and Lundqvist stands on his head, then they can beat the Caps. But I don't know if they can beat Tampa. I don't know if they can. They might be able to beat Florida, but I don't know if they can beat Washington and then beat Tampa to get to the Stanley Cup final. We'll see.
Well, in order for them to beat Tampa, too, they're going to have to win Washington. They're going to have to win a round first. And that's no guarantee, especially with the success that Halak has had against the Rangers in recent history. And the Islanders have also had no problems playing at MSG lately either. So that's going to be a barn burner. It's definitely no given there. But it's funny, as Russ was talking, I just printed off his email of the Rangers draft preview for the next 5 years. So there it is. All right. So with that being said,
wow.
though, It's high risk.
Right.
This is definitely
That's
high
what
risk.
happens when you got a Rangers and Islanders guy on together.
This is definitely high risk. But Eric Staal, we all know he has talent, but it's just you don't see it that much anymore. And the reward could be there, but this reeks of Rick Nash kind of. I know Stahl's had more playoff success, but right now at the point of their careers, you're definitely trading for a guy who's on the downward end of his career, regardless how old he is.
But this is really just I think this is just a now thing. I mean, I think this is a rental. I think Staal goes back to Carolina after this.
For sure, it's probably a rental, but it's an expensive rental. Even people, I guess,
It's
don't.
an expensive rental. You're right.
It's an expensive rental. It really is, especially with the cap going down. And now the only way you could circumvent a cap going down is by drafting well and having a lot of draft picks, and they don't have that.
Yeah, they don't.
You need to have some guys on your on your team that are making entry-level money. You just have to nowadays.
Yeah, no, that's for sure, and they are running thin. I mean, it was good that when I first talked to Russ, I was telling him that the guy I heard that was going to go was Lindbergh. I'm glad he didn't go.
Yeah,
they heard that he didn't go too, Russ. Yeah, he's had a really good year, and he is young. They've got a couple of those guys. I mean, there are a couple still. They haven't traded all their young players away. They do have some young players.
They're not done trading. That's the other thing.
Right. What's next for them?
Oh, I don't know. I think they might be done trading, to be honest. I mean, that's a big trade.
I don't know about that, Eck. I hear they're still like Brandon Peary, and there's still a chance that they're trying to get him and Cam Atkinson. I think they're back after Cam Atkinson again, too.
There's a lot of teams after Cam Atkinson, though.
Yeah. We'll
if
get
he
into
really
that.
is available, I'm not quite sure why Columbus would want to trade him.
Dan, I've talked to people, and I don't think he is as available as people say. I mean, to be honest, I've never thought that.
It doesn't mean they're going to get traded, but they do.
No.
I mean, they're definitely focusing more on moving Hartnell than they are Cam Atkinson. That's for sure.
Who's left? Who's going to get traded tomorrow? We have Erickson and Boddicker, right?
Hold on for 1 second. We'll get to that.
I was a little late for the pre-show meeting.
That's all right. Yeah, we went through this today at the table read.
What time's the table read tomorrow? 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's at 6 a.m. Of course. It's
okay.
6 a.m.
I'll bring the crullers.
How about some Timbits?
No.
The table read at TSN is 5 a.m.
What's that,
the table read first goes to the editors. The editors in California, they bring them. All this is scripted, the whole show. Okay, so let's go. Let's talk Chicago, Roz. Okay, so the Hawks go out and they just do things. I mean, they already have everybody afraid of them in their division. The Wild don't want to play them. The Predators don't want to play them. And they go out and they bring back Andrew Ladd. How did Andrew Ladd look today?
He looked really good. He got an assist. The crowd really took to him immediately. I mean, they love him there. He won with them in 2010, and everyone was everyone that was talking about it was excited to have him back. And I think he had a great first game. And I think as they progress, and then when Hossa comes back, I think it's going to be a really great line. I think they're going to go for it.
What is the line? The line. What's the line going to be? What are they thinking?
I think it's going to be Taves, Ladd, and Hossa. Once he's healthy. But I mean, Shaw held his own there tonight too. He had a great game, really great game.
And that's crazy. So, and Weiss and Fleischman both got in today, right?
Weiss did not play today, but Fleischman did. Weiss, I think, is still doing paperwork. But yeah, I mean, and he was great too. So we'll see what happens. But everyone's excited. They think it's a lot, but they have the ability to go for it again. And I think they got a good team to do it with. So you got to do it while you have that core there, right? So.
Right.
The funny thing is Chicago is probably not done either because the way it looks right now, they're looking for a defenseman. There's been some mention.
They trade though. I mean, they have.
They can trade Bickle. That's the whole thing. They're going to trade Bickle. I think that's going to happen. Yeah. I think he's going to end up in Toronto. It's going to be a salary dump. Stan Bowman is going all in. Now, if he doesn't do that, then they're probably done, or they're getting a very cheap defenseman. Josh, go ahead.
Well, there's two names I've heard actually today, possible going to Chicago. One of them is a returnee possibly, and that's Brendan Peary, who I've heard in the last couple hours that he could also go to Chicago, maybe in a depth situation. And on defense, Chris Russell's name I keep hearing as well as a possible landing spot in Chicago.
Yeah, and his salary is around 2.6, so I mean that would be. But I mean, see, the thing is, unless Calgary takes money back, which they probably would, they have very little cap room right now. I think that for flexibility to make those kind of moves, they're going to have to move Bickle out, and it's been out there for probably almost a week that the Leafs are willing to take Bickle off of their hands, but they're probably going to want either a significant draft pick or one of their prospects. The name that keeps coming up is Ryan Hartman, who's playing for them in Rockford.
Yeah.
And he's a former first-round pick of the Hawks, but and maybe that's too much of an asking price. But if they want to solidify their team even more, I think they need to add a defenseman because Christian Ehrhoff just isn't going to do it.
They're not going to give up Hartman though. I'm pretty sure. I can't be 100% because nobody's ever 100, but I'm like 95 that they won't give up Hartman.
What do you think about their defense, Raz?
I think either Russ or Roz.
Raz,
I know,
sorry.
it's close. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Raz, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I think they need another big strong D, like someone that's gonna be able to handle all that and go for it with them. So I think another big D would be really beneficial.
Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I was just going to mention with the Leafs, what's going around right now is the asking prices for a lot of players right now. For instance, one of the players being named P.A. Parenteau was talked about possibly moving to Long Island, but the asking price for him is quite high and not the kind of price that Garth Snow wants to pay. So right now the Leafs may be playing a little bit of hardball trying to get the best value for some of their players.
Sure, and the Islanders are probably not the only suitor for P.A. Parenteau. So Gary Lawless from TSN reported that the Leafs were looking for a second-round pick from the Islanders. The Islanders don't have their 2016 second; they have their second in 17 and 18. And knowing what the Leafs have done over the last couple days, they would probably take one of those later picks, and maybe that would be, since it's a later pick, that would be an acceptable price for Garth Snow, but. Dan, Parenteau played 2 years on Long Island. He played with John Tavares. And to me, that makes sense as a depth move, as a guy who's familiar with the team.
Yeah, I guess it really didn't end well.
It really wasn't a good. It wasn't a happy breakup in the Island with Parenteau.
He scored 120 points in 2 years.
Yeah, Molson scored a lot of points with John Tavares and Brad Boyes. They would think I want them back.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
It just did not end well. It's like I read that book before. It was kind of like an M. Night Shyamalan book, a movie where you're really into it, and then you're at the end of it, you're like, well, that was crap.
And then you found out you were dead, right?
Yeah, they were awful in their own end. Like Mike, you and I talked earlier before the show, and I think Pia Parenteau is a good hockey player, but he's also a good hockey player on a team that misses the playoffs every year. And yeah. You know what? I'd be willing to take a shot. For a draft pick, okay, sure. And see, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But the team's rolling pretty good right now, and Tavares is rolling pretty good right now. It probably would be an upgrade to the first line, but I don't think that can be the only move they make.
Yeah, he's good at playing at non-playoff teams. That's why he's going to re-sign with Toronto next summer. So.
All right, let's talk a little bit of Jonathan Drouin for a second, okay? Because
forgot about it.
This is probably the biggie tomorrow, and Jonathan Drouin is incredibly fluid. Not like in a Terminator type way, but just more like a. He's really at this point. He's been. There have been so many teams. We've heard 5 teams. I've heard 10 teams. I think at some point all 29 teams have talked to them about Jonathan Drouin. Now it sounds like this. Earlier today, the Senators were definitely in. Now it sounds like the Senators are definitely out.
Right.
Then earlier, just a little bit ago, it sounded like the Ducks were in again. I've heard that. I've heard Minnesota's name being thrown around. A month ago, I talked to Minnesota, and they wanted nothing to do with Jonathan Drouin. So that's a strange thing for me. I'm got to, things change, so I'm going to make in contact with Minnesota again about Drouin.
Well, it keeps coming back to because Yzerman is looking for an NHL player on an entry-level deal. The name that came out of Ottawa was Cody Ceci. They love Cody Ceci. They're not going to move him.
And he's a local kid. They're not moving him.
Right. The name, I saw a report, I think it was Joe Haggerty yesterday, said that in a deal for the Bruins, and you talked about the Bruins and Tampa Bay getting together as a possible deal, the name that Yzerman wants is David Pastrnak. See, this is the problem. Jonathan Drouin has proved nothing. He's a great talent, but he hasn't shown it at the NHL level. And other teams are not going to give away players who are on their entry-level deals who have proved something at the NHL level. So either Steve Yzerman has to come off his high horse and lower his price, or they're going to.
He shouldn't have to. He's being held ransom.
And Dan's right. Steve Yzerman still doesn't have to do anything.
Sure. Right.
He doesn't. And this is Alan Walsh's problem. He's the one who really created this problem because the kid's at home, he's not playing, and now his value is not as high as it should be because he's not playing, and people are sort of saying, well, we doubt this, we're not sure of that, even though we all know he's a great talent. So who drove his price down? Alan Walsh did.
Yeah,
right.
I'm going to disagree here. His price is not down. I mean, Alan Walsh did a lot of crazy things, but he's going to get.
I think Drouin for Pastrnak is a fair deal.
No, I think. Well,
Boston won't do that. I don't think.
I know. I'm just saying that's a good ask, though. That's what you should be asking for.
I don't know. I mean, I think Boston actually would do that. That just from. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think they would do Pastrnak. I mean, Roz, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this one, on Drouin? Because I mean, we talked a little bit earlier. You're a little familiar with him.
Yeah, I mean, I watched him play with the Mooseheads, a few years ago with McKinnon, and he was great there. He's very talented. So I mean, whichever team he does end up on, if he does get traded, he's just going to be an asset. I think if he gets put in the right team, and it's be a better fit for him. Clearly, it wasn't a fit there, and I think that would be something that would. I think he'll improve with a different team.
Well, I mean, this is the analogy I always come up with. He was a third pick overall, and a lot of teams liked his skill set. But it's like you buying a new car on a car lot, and as soon as you drive it off the lot, it depreciates in value. He's now this is his third pro, or he stayed another year in junior. This is his second pro season. He really didn't make his mark, and that's what I mean. I'm not saying that
Steve hasn't played enough games yet either. To be fair,
true. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. All I'm saying is that Yzerman expecting top value, expecting like if he was a third pick overall and had scored 30 goals, is ridiculous. Now, if he doesn't want to make a deal now, and he can wait till the summer, but he also came out a couple days ago and said, I'd like to move him sooner rather than later. Well, you can't say that and then not expect to adjust your price accordingly. So right now, I think Yzerman's confusing things a bit.
Yeah, and the problem is with a guy like Pastrnak. He's played more NHL games than Jonathan Drouin at this point. He's further down the road. So it's going to be hard for Yzerman to get a team like Boston to move on that without putting a pick in there, too.
He's a lot older than Drouin, too. I mean, right?
He is older.
He's older. 3 or 4 years older than him, right?
Pasternak's younger.
Pasternak's 20 years old.
Oh, okay, am I wrong?
I thought he was 21.
Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of another rookie this year.
Either way.
Panarin.
No, Panarin. Sorry, yeah, Panarin. Who was another?
Panarin's older. He's like 25.
Right, that's what I'm thinking of. All right, now I just got a text here to look at Montreal again with Drouin. This feels like a bad idea. Can I just throw this out there?
It really seems like a bad idea.
I
can see them. That would be so Montreal, though, wouldn't it?
It would be because they're panic. Montreal is in panic mode right now for sure, and they have to do something interesting because they're probably not going to make the playoffs. So bringing a French Canadian kid in, bringing this particular French Canadian kid in who's had issues, it might it could work. I mean, I always bring up Alexei Kovalev, who was a disaster in New York and a disaster everywhere else. I mean, he wasn't a disaster; he was a great player, but when he went to Montreal, they just worked out perfectly. So maybe this is the kind of guy who just works out perfectly in Montreal,
but Alexei Kovalev,
a lot of pressure to throw on a kid.
Alexei Kovalev was in his 30s. He had won a Stanley Cup with the Rangers.
Right.
He played with Yager. He was a veteran. He was a spirit. So it worked in Montreal. You're talking about throwing a 20-year-old French-Canadian kid to the Wolves.
No, see, this is the difference. This is where I disagree. Toronto is the Wolves. Montreal is not the Wolves. No, Montreal is a different. No. Montreal is a different fan base altogether. They are a totally different fan base.
That's a lot of pressure, though. There's still a lot of pressure on a young kid to go into Montreal being a French Canadian. It wouldn't be the same as Toronto, but I mean, if you're French Canadian, you're gonna play for Montreal. You better do well if you're gonna give someone up.
No, you're gonna have to deal with the media for sure, and you're gonna. But there is the side of. There is another thing that if you're French Canadian in Montreal and you come in and you immediately ingratiate yourself, that they just absolutely you can't do any wrong. There's also that in Montreal. That's different.
And if you don't get the apple and the spit and the fire and start spinning them, because that's what will happen.
Yeah.
I think his problem is Drouin right now. I'm not saying he's a finished product. He's another smaller, high-skilled perimeter player, and the Canadiens have tons of that.
Yeah.
They don't need that.
I mean, basically, you're going to be trading Drouin for Galchenyuk. Are you going to do that trade or not?
If I'm Tampa, I would.
Sure. Yeah, no, if you're Tampa, you do. But I think you can get him without Galchenyuk. I think there's got to be.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Nathan
What's the latest on Pacioretty? Anything on that?
Yeah, I mean that could be the guy actually. Pacioretty. No, that sounds more like it.
And I'm ready for Eck to put his hands out and choke me, but here we go again. Tampa Bay does not have the cap space to fit Max Pacioretty's contract if they're trading Drouin. Drouin's on an entry
How the
level.
hell did the Rangers fit Eric Staal in?
Well, Nash went on long-term injury reserve. All I want to say about Pacioretty is this. If Pacioretty is traded tomorrow and it's not to the New York Islanders, Garth Snow should be fired immediately. I'm dead serious.
Well, Pacioretty's a Connecticut kid.
Yes. $4.5 million, next 4 years, 27 years old, 35 goal scorer. Give him Ryan Strome. Give him any of the prospects not named Barzell, and I'll drive to Montreal. I'm going there in 2 weeks.
The problem that Garth Snow's making is he's waiting for his price, like he's waiting for his price for Hamonic, and he might be waiting way too long because he might get into the middle of tomorrow with nobody and then have to get somebody at the last minute, and that may not be great.
Unless Steve Yzerman goes out and takes a stick and does a Bobby Clark on Valtteri Filppula, they can't fit him under the cap.
Like a Nancy Kerrigan?
Yeah, no, like what Clark did on Valerie Harlamoff in '72.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Nancy Kerrigan, a little pipe to the knee.
Yeah, but I like Nancy Kerrigan, so I'm not gonna.
Oh man, I'm hearing.
It's got weird again.
This is really the. Boy, I want to throw something out there really quickly about the concept of fake Twitter accounts right now.
Oh boy.
I mean, this is like we just throw this out there every year, but it's just like there are so many NHL executives that fall for fake Twitter accounts. Okay, so I get texts from like GMs on other teams. Did you see there's a fake Renaud Lavoie out there who said that Drouin was traded for Nathan Beaulieu and Martin Drouin, right?
Yeah.
And But it looks, it's like I don't know, it's a fake Renaud Lavoie or whatever.
I always look forward to those from those tweets from Darren Drager.
Yeah, or Pierre Lamont.
Are these people? They're like graduating college and they're sitting there and they're listening to the commencement speech and they're thinking, you know what I'm going to do when I grow up? I'm going to be.
Someone made a Twitter account of me last year. Why?
Really?
Why?
Wow.
Seriously? Yes.
You made it, man. You've made it.
It had to be one of my friends. Seriously. I have no idea why someone would waste their time.
No, I mean,
it was actually Mike.
I've had plenty of fake Twitter accounts on me.
Was it Dan Oodles?
That's right, Dan Oodles. I like that. That's funny.
My favorite was Eklund. Instead of an L, a capital I. I mean, you honestly can't tell the difference on that Twitter account. It's like completely ridiculous.
I think someone made a Josh and Markham one a couple of years ago, didn't they?
I remember that. I remember Josh and Markham. That was awesome. Yeah, so it's completely.
There's a lot of landmines on Twitter. There's no doubt.
Oh my gosh, you got to stay away from Twitter. People are going nuts, and I know it's hard, but it's like. I do think at the end of the day, we're going back and forth on Drouin. We'll go back and forth on him a lot tomorrow, so we don't have to talk all about Drouin tonight. But I do think.
Yeah, well, about Drouin, I really believe that the team that could end up getting Drouin is Vancouver. I mean, they have the assets, and I have heard names like McCann there, possibly heading to Tampa in a deal for Drouin. I've also heard him use his name as well. I think Vancouver might be a dark horse in this and could end up walking away with Drouin tomorrow.
They could, and I think Hamuse will wait until that last couple of hours, and then he might lift his no trade. I mean, if he wants to run for a cup, he'll do it. And right now, he's putting on the right public face, but he could change that.
Well, there was a lot of noise over the weekend that Hamuse was interested in going to Dallas.
To Dallas, yeah, I saw that too.
And
tis the season to say where you want to go. I mean, the Rangers 2 years in a row now have gotten players that'll only go to them.
Yeah.
I mean, last year was Marty St. Louis. This year it's Eric Staal.
You would think they'd be able to get it for lesser of a price, but no.
You beat me to it, Russ.
No, you would think that.
Eric Staal
they're being good guys. They're helping their fellow teams out. It's like they're helping them out. But it's like if a player just says they want to go to you, that doesn't mean you have to trade to them. It feels like the Rangers feel required, like with Marty St. Louis last year, and now Eric Staal, they required because he said they like me. It's like she likes me.
Well, now that Carolina has taken step one, they're probably going to take steps 2, 3, and maybe.
Yeah, and I want to throw something out about that. It's just this my crazy rumor for tonight. Is that I heard that Jordan Staal could be headed to the Flyers.
Why?
I heard this from an interesting source today, and I mean we're not thinking of the Flyers as buyers at all right now. because
they're close to a playoff spot, aren't they?
They're really close to a playoff spot. That's what I wrote about today. And I talked to a person who used to work in the Flyers organization today, who shall remain nameless. And I said, it's frustrating because in the past, I'm getting so many texts and emails from Flyers fans, and all my friends are Flyers fans, and all the people on my daughter's soccer team are Flyers fans. And everybody's coming up and what's going on? Why are they not trading for anybody? Why are they just saying they're playing Gagne, he's scoring all these goals, and they're just going to trade him? And what's going on? And da-da-da.
Because that's Ron Hextall's plan.
Right, right, but they are 3 points behind the Penguins. They play the Penguins like 25 more times this year. They play them every other week, and the Penguins are out there just buying up. They're going for it. So it's crazy. These two teams in Pennsylvania, where they're at, they're right next to each other. One team is just completely going in. Dan, what do you got?
Is Justin Schultz really going for it?
Yeah,
it is.
No, it is. I mean, they brought in another.
Do they think they can turn him around?
If going to turn him around.
If going for it means
offense.
So that's minus 77 in 4 years.
That's out there. At this point, the Penguins should just stop trying to say they have defensemen on their team.
Thank you. That's better, Eric. I buy that.
They're all forwards.
If going for it means being 30th in the NHL in goals against, then they're going for it. Because
if Fleury stays healthy, they won't be.
But the thing is, and Josh, will go to you after this. If you're going to bet one way or the other whether they go out and trade for Jordan Staal, meaning the Flyers, or they dump Gagne, maybe Medvedev, maybe Streit. I think they're going to trade off these guys. I don't think they're going to add players.
Oh, I think they are too. But
Staal, they could add him because he's the right age. Hextall talks about it.
Like it's not about now for the Flyers.
That's
but if
fair.
they think they can get Jordan Staal, and they can give up something that they like to give up.
He's
They already kind of have Jordan Staal and Sean Couturier, so to my opinion, they're very similar players in my mind.
Go ahead, Josh.
Back to Schultz going to Pittsburgh. Who's going to have a better career on the blue line in a Pittsburgh Penguins uniform, Schultz or Christian Ehrhoff?
Schultz.
Because I think it's going to be the same.
You think they're the same player?
God forbid if they put Schultz and Derek Pouliot together on the same defensive pairing, it'll remind you of the University of Wisconsin with Jake Gardner and Justin Schultz. It's like the Toreador defense. Just let them go right to the net.
They won't.
Ole defense.
Well, how many of the same players do they have now? I mean, they have Daly, Schultz, and Letang. To me, are three of the same player. I mean, Letang's it's like good, better, best. I mean, Letang's the best of them. Schultz might be better than Daly, but Daly might be better than Schultz. It depends on, they've got incredible speed. They're going to try to outscore everybody. Obviously, they're going to become that team, which is a really interesting move in an era of low-scoring hockey, right, that we live in. This is not the 80s.
They're going with a high-flying offense with a defensive-minded coach, which is strange.
I don't think that works against the teams in front of them in the standings either.
No, and to me, this brings up my point before, and I'm sure Raj, you've seen this too. Like the curiosity of we had this period of time where there were no offensive-minded defensemen, and now everybody is playing offensive. All the defensemen are offensive-minded. Like, what happened to the defensive defensemen, Raj? Where did they go?
Oh, sorry. I don't know if I'm saying Roz or Russ, but yeah,
Raj,
I've noticed
sorry.
too, a lot more of the defense. They're offensive, and like Chicago, we don't have a lot of big guys that stay at home defense that are going to protect the house. So, and that's what we're looking for. And because most of them can skate and score and take it end to end,
Oh yeah, no. I mean, the Blackhawks, for all their defensive, I mean, this is something I've always kind of gotten yelled at because I've criticized them, that they actually do give the puck away quite a bit. They don't. If you watch them play, they do, in my opinion. Yeah. Give the puck away a lot. Like the whole take on them in 2010, and it was a while ago now, and that thanks for bringing that up. By the way, that was a really painful moment for me. But with Andrew Ladd here, I was at that game. But yeah, the Hawks, the whole scouting report on them is if you pressured Seabrook, they would give the puck up. They didn't like to turn their back. They didn't want to go against the boards with their back facing you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're right.
And I think if we get one or two and you can pair them off, it's just gonna strengthen their defense. Not that we have some of the best defense in the league, but when you're talking about defense, I think we're lacking in that. Yeah. Yeah,
you really have seen it, and that was, I think, Roosevelt was actually one of the better defensive defensemen they had. From what I never even thought of him as a defensive. I mean, to me, he's like
no, but yeah, when you compare the others, yeah.
He's a Marge. He's I mean, when I think of like where's that happened to like like the Adam Foots and Luke Richardsons and these type players that are just like were solid defensive defensemen. There aren't that many of them in the league right now.
But you've noticed with a couple moves that Bowman has made over the last 72 hours that he doesn't want a repeat of what happened last year. At least now.
Right. We ran out of defensemen last year in the playoffs, and that was for sure. And then he was playing.
He played 2.5 defensemen for 8 weeks.
Right, Keith was playing 45 minutes a night, and yeah, there's no question. I mean, that was crazy. But this is what I wonder is the difference between an offensive defenseman and a defensive defenseman, just in their like physique and their body. Offensive defensemen do break down. Like those are the guys who will get hurt. Where the good old-fashioned defensive defensemen. They couldn't hurt. They couldn't get
solid.
hurt.
They can take it.
Yeah, they were solid. Like the Jay McKees, these guys never really got injured.
Yeah, it's foot speed though. It's foot speed. If you can't skate anymore, you're in the AHL, and unfortunately, the days of the classic stay-at-home defensemen are you don't see that many true ones in the league anymore.
And they weren't blocking shots with the same regularity that they do now either.
That's true too. You get a lot of injuries there too.
But Rob Scuderi was already slow, so blocking a few more shots makes him the same speed.
At the very beginning, Scuderi wasn't that slow, but he
wasn't.
I'm just saying recently. I mean, he's
I mean they do, and that's the problem. But you really, I mean, we're seeing, and the Penguins are going all in with that concept. I mean, they really are. They are just the epitome of it. It'll be fascinating to watch how that plays out. Can you actually beat a team with all offensive defensemen?
Well, they're still looking to add more. I've read that the Russian Plotnikov that they brought over this year, that they're shopping him around to get maybe an extra defenseman or an extra depth forward. So
I don't know if there's much value for him.
Yeah. The Rangers will give him a draft pick for him.
See, that's the thing. It's like other than they're not going to trade Daniel Sprong, and now according to the report yesterday, Matt Murray is untradeable. It's like okay, you've got two great.
Gary can be traded.
Yeah, you got two great goaltenders in your system, young goaltenders in your system, and you've got Marc-Andre Fleury, who's got another 3 years, and he's probably still. I think he's one of the top 6 or 7 goaltenders in the league, and you're not going to trade one of your prospect goaltenders. To me, maybe Jim Rutherford's been told you can't trade this guy. If that's the case, then fine. But
that's odd because of the players they have. He's someone who can get a return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think if the Dallas Stars were looking for a goaltender,
yes,
and Matt Murray was the guy, they would probably have to give up a guy like Nichushkin. But it might be worth it because Matt Murray, I think, can be a future All-Star. I think that he's that good.
Yeah, I don't know if Dallas is going to give up Nichushkin anymore. He's starting to really fit in and has become a real beast in front of the net. And so I don't know. I think while everybody was floating his name earlier, I don't know if he's really on the block anymore.
I think he's one of those guys, if you can just be patient with him, let his hands and size kind of mature a little bit, let him figure it out a little bit. I mean, he had that horrible injury he missed almost all of last season. If you just give him a little time, I think he can develop into something special.
The thing that's shocking me is that teams that are 3 or 4 points out of the playoffs are definitely sellers. I mean, we're seeing with Carolina, and from everything that has been out there, New Jersey's going to sell off Schlemko. They're going to sell off Stempniak.
I take Schlemko in a heartbeat.
Right, and that might be a guy that Chicago or Pittsburgh, if they're looking for another defenseman.
He'd be a great fit in Chicago.
Right, under $1 million. And he's a solid defenseman. Not great, but put him on a bottom pair.
I'll tell you a kid Chicago could trade is John Hayden. He's a center with Yale. I've seen him play it a lot. He's like 6'3", 210. He's got 15 goals this year. He is a kid that they can get a little bit of value for, and you got to figure he's probably a year or two away from the NHL, so I think they can get something for him.
I saw him play last night and get absolutely shut down by my Quinnipiac University.
It's all right. He still has 15 goals.
He could have scored 7 last night.
I just got something else from a source that said the Minnesota Wild are in on Louis Eriksson. So that's interesting. I'm very curious. The Louis Eriksson thing has been going on all day where they've been negotiating with him, and people keep saying they're getting closer and they're going to sign. I am not sold that that's actually happening. There are people, and people are telling you that it's happening, but when I talk to people, they've had a few discussions, and they are closer than they were. But whether or not this is really close enough, I think is pretty far off still. It doesn't seem like it's going to get done, really. I mean, I know they've gotten closer, but
this is
who you talk to. I mean, I talked to somebody in Sweden who has been covering who knows Louis Eriksson pretty well, and he told me, Dad, it's not. He just talked to him, and no, it's not really as close as people are making it out to be.
This is the thing that's puzzling because I'm putting two and two together here. You've got the Bruins, whose defense is getting really old and crotchety. With Chara is almost 40 years old. Seidenberg has been injured so many times. I think Torrey Krug's coming up on RFA. If they're dealing Eriksson to Minnesota, the guy that they're probably targeting is Jonas Brodin, and Brodin's name has been out there. It makes a lot of sense because Brodin's signed for another 5 years. But if I was Minnesota, I wouldn't give up on Brodin for anything.
No, he logs too many minutes. I could see Christian Folin getting traded, but Brodin and Dumba, I really can't see either of those guys going sooner.
Spurgeon.
I can't see they're going to keep those four. They are.
Sorry, Josh. You and I talked earlier today about Jordan Eberle.
Yes.
And I've heard his name mentioned again, and I've heard it mentioned with New Jersey. Actually, I've heard a couple talks with New Jersey and Yakupov as well. I think Edmonton and New Jersey have been talking a lot today. New Jersey obviously need a guy like Yakupov Eberle moving forward. They do. That makes sense for them, and they have a lot of room. So, what have you heard with Eberle?
Well, I mean, we've heard the last couple days that the Edmonton Oilers would probably wait till the draft to possibly move one of their big pieces out. But there has been some teams calling the Edmonton Oilers about Yakupov and even Jordan Eberle, which I heard earlier this morning, as a possibility. I don't see Edmonton moving Eberle out prior to the draft. But I guess anything's possible if there is something good on the table. I don't know what anyone's going to offer up for Eberle, but you got to think it's going to be a big package in order to get him out.
It's tough to move $6 million contracts. That's the problem. I mean, in the summer or at the draft.
At the draft, I still think at the draft, Hamonic goes to Edmonton for one of their players. I really do.
We should report on just the fake Twitters. I swear, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of getting texts about these things.
But I can see Yakupov's probably the guy they're heavily shopping.
Yeah, I think Yakupov is the guy. I've also heard Yakupov and for Drouin mentioned as well, which is a strange one. I think it seems like Drouin is not what Edmonton needs if they're moving Yakupov. But I don't know. I mean, is he a good fit up there, Russ?
I mean, look. If you could get a guy like Drouin there, he'd be a great fit because you're going to put him with McDavid, or you're going to put him with Eberle if he's still there. But again, is it exactly what they need? No, but then that would give them the ability to trade somebody else. So it still would give them another highly skilled player.
And then look at Austin Matthews, and then look at the next. They're going to have 27 forwards and no defensemen.
Bite your tongue.
They can get him.
But you know what this could be? If that actually happened, you trade Drouin to Edmonton and you inflate his value by putting him with either Draisaitl or McDavid, and then you flip him a year or two down the road before when his entry level deal. Because the last thing they need is another skilled smallish forward. They need defensemen, and I think one of the things you look at with the Edmonton Oilers, they could trade off Nugent Hopkins, they could trade off Eberle, they could trade off Yakupov, and they would still have a 1-2 punch up the middle of McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Taylor Hall on the wing. And probably draft. But they would probably draft either Matthews or one of the two Finns. Right. They are so loaded up the middle. They could trade 3 of these guys to solidify their defense and their goaltending.
But still, Drouin's still more skilled than 2 of the guys you mentioned. That if they could upgrade it, I would still do it too as a GM.
All right, Dan. Question.
Yes.
Kyle Pozo for Michael Bodker. Do you do it?
No.
Okay. I've heard that one too.
I just, I don't. I was digging into that, and I was trying to figure out what to do with that situation, and Bodker doesn't do much for me. I think I'd rather have Parenteau. I mean, Bodker's never scored 20 goals.
Lou Lamoriello on line 3.
Yeah,
I know.
But he's bigger than Parenteau, and he's
6
got more
feet.
skill than Parenteau.
He's a -28.
You can't look at that. That's on the team he's on. That doesn't mean he's going to be a
Max
-28.
Domi's a -3. Come on. There's something there. When you're -6 or -7, okay, I can give you that on a bad team. -28, 15 goals, I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me.
When you think about it, you scored 15 goals and you're -28, you're really like, -30 something. Like you're really, it just means you've been out there for 15 goals, at least 15 goals that have been scored. So you've been out there for at least 30 some goals that have been scored against you.
I'd be willing to take a shot on him, but not for a post-up.
Are we talking Fahrenheit or Celsius when we're talking about those minuses? I mean,
we're in America, Mike. I'm just kidding.
First of all,
not me.
A rental,
I know.
rental for rental deal like that makes absolutely no sense.
For Arizona, especially for Arizona.
And no, I mean, I do think the Islanders are heavy on Michael Bodker. I mean, I think that's definitely if I was to pick a player that the Islanders get tomorrow, right now. And that's one things we'll do at the end of this. At the end of this, we'll do what we always do.
Islanders, I would get Brandon Peary. He's the guy I would get for them.
So everybody has to think.
If I had to choose, I'd much rather have him.
Everybody has to think before we leave because we only have a couple more minutes left because we don't want to out-talk. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow.
And Walking Dead's coming on. It's going to kill our demographic.
Walking Dead's coming on. Sorry, Dan. So real quickly, I want everybody to think about one trade they think's going to happen tomorrow. Just it can be any guess. It's just like this guy or this guy's going to go to this team or whatever. It can be anything. It doesn't have to. It can be Drouin. It can be anyone at all. Sorry to throw it at you at like this last second, but we've done this before and it's been kind of fun. Yeah, so I have also, there's also been out there, the other name I want to talk about real fast is Tyler Bozak, whose name's been mentioned quite a bit, and he's hurt right now, obviously, but I do think that oh man, and then we have a lot to talk about later, but Yakupov with the Sabres is another one.
I really think, in terms of the Leafs situation, that there is a greater chance of Kadri being moved than Bozak. Mike Babcock likes Bozak, likes his skill set. He's locked up for 2 more years at $4.2 million. Now, they'll probably end up moving him eventually, but I think there's a greater chance of Kadri and his offense being moved before the deadline, definitely during the summer. But I think there's more of a likelihood he gets moved instead of Bozak.
Okay, all right. So let's go through this, Dan, so you can get out of here for Walking Dead. There are DVRs, but we'll let you go.
I'm aware. Yes.
we do live in the era of DVRs.
I am actually DVRing it too. Yes.
I know, but you guys probably want to watch it with other people, right, and everything. So.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So
I'm getting orders from the boss.
Okay, I got you. Yakupov trade. I think Yakupov could get moved tonight. I'm going to throw that out there. I'll start with this. I think Yakupov's going to get traded before we meet again. Okay, I think that's the trade that's going to happen. I don't know where. I'm going to guess that is. I'm going to guess on New Jersey on that one, just because I think that's the most likely place. I mean, I've heard Montreal's name mentioned too, but at the end of the day, I think New Jersey's the one is going to get that done. It just seems like a New Jersey type of move to get now Yakupov right now, and they're still in this too. So, and now, Dan, who do you give me one?
Galchenyuk to Anaheim.
Ooh, wow.
For one
That's
of the
crazy.
For one of the RFA defensemen.
All right. Mike?
Brian Bickle to Toronto, salary dump. I think that's going to happen, definitely.
Well, that's an exciting one. There's nothing that gets the crowd going like a salary dump.
Sexy, my goodness.
Well, okay, if you Louis
Salary dump.
Louis Eriksson to Anaheim. I don't think Montreal's going to. Louis Eriksson to Anaheim, I think, has a really good chance of happening.
All right, Russ.
I'm going to say Brandon Peary to the Islanders for Josh Hosang.
I love it.
Ooh, nice. Josh.
I'm going to say Louis Eriksson to the Capitals.
Wow.
I have a weird feeling that Washington is going to be doing something. They're very quiet. You haven't heard a lot about the Caps. They have to do something here. I think they're going to go out and they're going to grab someone that you're going to be like, wait a minute, where'd that come from?
Josh, I like that one because they can put Carlson on LTIR and open up space. So, yeah, you might. But I think they're also going to look for a defenseman because they should have been looking for a defenseman even before this injury, and they might be looking for one now just in case. So maybe a guy like Schlemko goes there, or somebody that Barry Trotz has a relationship with. So.
And Orlov's been playing well with the added minutes. I think he really has a lot of people.
You guys are ignoring two teams that absolutely have to keep up with the Hawks, and that are the Blues and the Predators. Those two teams are going to have to do something tomorrow. They're not going to be able to sit back and watch this.
And the Kings and the Ducks.
Yeah, but mainly the Blues and the Predators. They've both lost to the Hawks every year recently. The Wild is in the same boat. So there's a bunch of teams over there that are in the same boat. But yeah, for sure. What do you think, Raz?
I got a soft spot for Drouin, so I think he's gonna go. I don't know where. Maybe he ends up, as the next French Canadian in Montreal. But I think someone's gonna break towards the end of the deadline, and someone's gonna get him. And I think he's gonna be, a great asset to the right line, to the right team. I think he's very talented. So
if he ends up in Montreal, get him. Sorry, if he ends up in Montreal, get him free counseling. That's all I can say.
No, he'll be okay. Now, if you want to check out more about Raz and actually smartrink.com, I want to talk about that briefly. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. SmartRink they make the greatest synthetic ice out there. You guys know I talked about my battles and toils and tribulations with my ice rink this year, which was really a disaster outside because every time I froze, we had a 60-degree day. So I'm throwing in the towel, and I've been toiling with this for a while. And in April, Raz, I'm going for it. I'm going to put the synthetic ice down because my daughter just wants to play ice hockey, and we can't play. So, but yeah, definitely check out smartrink.com, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow for sure, or at some point in the future. But Raz, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Josh.
And thanks everybody for watching.
Real quick, Russ. If anybody has questions about Upper Deck EPAC, they can hit me and Russ up on Twitter. We'll tell them all about it.
And that would be that's not easy to do because it's Dan Noodles 78. And
15.
it's
Dan Noodles 15, right? What is I don't know my own Twitter account is.
No, according to your screen that we're looking at, it's Dan Noodles 78.
Oh yeah, it is. You're right. My bad.
Let's go to Josh for the last thing here.
Yeah, I just want to point out that I don't think there'll be any trades here the next couple hours since all the hockey insiders are tweeting about the Oscars. Must be kind of quiet right now. I wouldn't be surprised if after the Oscars are done, we start seeing some more trades happen.
Apparently, Charlize Theron's wearing a hell of a dress.
I know. That's why I keep turning around every couple seconds. I have the TV behind.
Good to have you back, Josh.
Glad to be back.
Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Guys, get some sleep. Watch the Oscars, but don't watch too much because you got to get your rest. Santa Claus is coming. See you.